Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Wekiva High School welcomes you to Mustang Arena for the last time of 2019. For varsity boys basketball action, please welcome our guests from Windermere High School. They are the Wolverines. And they'll be taking on your Wekiva High School Mustangs. Before we begin our game this evening, we ask that you please stand as we honor America with the playing of our national anthem. And now let's meet the teams, beginning with our guests from Windermere. And we'll start for the Wolverines at forward with 6'6" junior, number 1, Matt Richardson. At guard, 6'3" senior, number 5, Daryl Armstrong. At guard, 5'11" junior, number 10, Elliot E.J. York. At point guard, 6'3" junior, number 11, Trey Moss. And finally for the Wolverines at guard, 6'4" junior, number 24, Jaden Golston. And the head coach of the Wolverines, there for all 3 years at Windermere High School, Mr. Mark Grzyk. And now let's meet the starting lineup for your Wekiva High School Mustangs. Starting at point guard, 5'10" sophomore, number 3, Jamarick Hammond. At shooting guard, 5'10" junior, number 4, Quadri Roberson. At shooting guard, 6' junior, number 10, Isaiah Lester. At power forward, 6'2" junior, number 12, Nikhil Edward. And finally for the Mustangs at power forward, 6'3" junior, number 21, Asael Caballero. The head coach of the Mustangs in his 6th year at the helm of Wekiva, Mr. Jacino Lubin. The officials for tonight's game are from the Central Florida Officials Association here in Orlando. We thank them for their dedicated service to our high school athletic programs and join them along with our participating schools, reminding everyone to make great sportsmanship a part of this and every athletic competition. If you have friends and family who are stuck at home in Apopka, down in Windermere, or anywhere else in the world and they were not able to join us in person tonight, you can send them to our YouTube channel, Wekiva Sports, or to the NFHS network where they can search for Wekiva High School. We are live streaming on both of those services right now. Again, Wekiva Sports on YouTube and the NFHS network. And a special welcome to those of you joining us online. Mark Barchi, the voice of the Mustangs, here and ready to take you through tonight's varsity contest and the last home event for Wekiva of 2019. And we're going to start with a call of traveling Mustangs ball. Saw both of these teams at the beginning of the season as they both were participants in the Metro versus Florida Challenge. Both of these coaches have a connection to Scott Williams, the head coach there at Apopka. Both of these coaches have served as assistant coaches with Scott Williams in the past and now have their own programs. This will go out of bounds on the missed field goal, and Windermere takes over at their own baseline. Neither of these teams starting quite the way they wanted to this season. Windermere is 4-4 coming into this game. Wekiva is 2-5, and Wekiva is a team that, while this may sound like a bit of a cop-out, is a team that is better than their record on paper. 2 out of their 5 losses have been by 1 possession. 1 went into overtime. And so this is a team that has been showing some promise, but is also a very young team and has struggled to maintain stamina into the second half, and particularly the fourth quarter. And that has been their stumbling block, where they've had a lot of games that were within reach and just would not happen. And here we're going to get Q Roberson for 3 on the pass from Hammond. Who shot that? Who scored that? Wolverine basket by number 5, Darrell Armstrong. Again, a very young team for the Mustangs. You notice no seniors in the starting lineup. They have just one senior total on the roster. The Mustangs were severely impacted by both graduation and transfers during the offseason. And so they're reloading behind this group of young talent. As Hammond here is looking for an opportunity, tries to get some motion going. Roberson for 3. It's in there. Q Roberson for 3. And a nice pass again to make that happen. Answered with a 3 from Jaden Golston. So far, neither team having a lot of success getting any inside penetration, but that's okay as long as the perimeter is raining threes. Hammond goes to the corner. He's got an open shot in Laster, but it's a little off the mark. Nevertheless, the rebound comes to the Mustangs, and they'll get another go at this one. Isaiah Laster drains a layup for 2. And just when I was criticizing them for no inside penetration, they must have heard me. 3-point basket scored by E.J. York. That takes us to a tie ball game. York to Golston for the go-ahead basket. So 2 points off turnovers give the Wolverines the lead, but not for long, as Isaiah Laster scores a long 2-point jumper for the Mustangs. So we're back to a tie ball game. Laster can't get the short jumper to go. Excuse me, that was Edward. Rebound goes to the Wolverines. Golston can't get the 3 to go. Rebound goes to Jamarick Hammond. Mustangs will try to make a 3 happen in transition, but Laster's attempt is short. It's going to go out of bounds off the Wolverines, though. Pressure coming in strong from the Wolverines. Mustangs managed to get out of it and reset to the baseline. And they're going to say that Jared Bryan let the ball go out of bounds. Wolverines ball. Returning to the game for the Mustangs, Tristan Bryan. Doesn't fall for Armstrong. It's a no call. Rebound goes to Donovan Stokes. He will think better of going coast to coast himself. Gets it off to Roberson. Instead, it's in there. Donovan Stokes. Excuse me, that was Q Roberson. Stokes had a kind of long assist there, and we'll pause for a 30-second timeout requested by the Wolverines. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Mustang Arena. We got a close one here to start off the first quarter. 3 won't fall. And the rebound goes to Trey Moss. Tristan Bryant can't get it to go. The rebound goes to Crawford. Foul is called against basket is made by number 5, Darrell Armstrong. That ties the game at 12, and we'll now pause for a Mustang timeout. 30-second timeout, full timeout is taken by Wekiva. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Mustang Arena. The Mustangs kind of wasting a full timeout there. Blocked by Jordan Crawford, and the rebound goes to him as well, but he's not able to keep control of it. The ball goes out of bounds. Mustangs ball. So a bit of a frenetic pace there. Not exactly a designed play. And zigged when he should have zagged. Jalen Hicks throws the ball out of bounds. Wolverines ball. Good rotation for the Wolverines. Moss can't get the 3 to fall. Rebound stays with the Wolverines. You got that? 3. Putback is scored by number 3, William Held. Tristan Bryant pounds in for his own rebound. Can't get the putback either. Prince Daniel into the game for the Mustangs. Nikhil Edward and Asael Caballero in as well. Trey Moss punches into the paint for a Wolverine layup. So the Wolverines on as much of a run as we've seen with 4. Deflected out of bounds there by Trey Moss. It stays with the Mustangs. Returning to the game for the Mustangs, number 3, Jamara Cammond. Mustang basket by Prince Daniel. Missed three. The rebound goes to Edouard. Offensive charge is called against Nikhil Edouard. His first, the team's first. That was taken by William Held. Wolverines ball. That takes us to the end of the first period, and it's a tight contest. 2-point ball game. The Wolverines lead the Mustangs 16-14 at the end of the first period. We'll be right back. The Mustangs have the opening possession of the second quarter. Welcome back to Mustang Arena. Mark Barchi, the voice of the Mustangs, here with you, and joined now by Neil Fisher from the Apopka Chief as we prepare to take you through what seems to be a pretty good way to end our 2019 home season, as we're going to get Donovan Stokes punches in for two. And Jaden Golson can't get the three to go. Putback's not going to go either.
Yeah, Mark, it's good to be here on a very rainy night outside. Not the best of conditions to put a mile away. But nonetheless, a very competitive game here through the first quarter. A bit of a surprise, given Wekiva last outing on Friday night did not go so well.
Foul is called against number 1. Matt Richardson is first, the team's first. Edouard shooting.
Of course, Windermere is only in its third year of existence, and so far they've done very well. Of course, they made the playoffs, the state tournament, the first year, and last year they made it all the way to the state semis for Class 7A. Of course, that's more of like the equivalent of 6A this season.
Offensive charge is called against Elliott York, his first, the team's second. Q Roberson back in for the Mustangs.
You know, of course, Mark, we've mentioned this a number of times here when we do get the opportunity to cover Windermere. Coach Mark Grisick, of course, was hired to start the program. It's the second program that he's been tabbed as the man who's going to build it from the ground up.
Yeah, Neil, and I also mentioned earlier to our viewers that both of these head coaches have worked as assistant coaches under Scott Williams. Both participated in the Metro versus Florida Challenge to start the season, so there's a lot of history between these two. Of course, they're very cordial with each other, and they go back a long time. Armstrong to E.J. York, 4-3. And so the Wolverines are now back on top. Roberson pounds to the baseline, a little too hot over the top. Who made that? Nikhil Edouard on the putback.
A nice job there by, with that putback there, getting the body in between two players under the basket.
Darrell Armstrong for two. Pause here to clean up some sweat.
I'd also like to point out, too, Mark, since we do have a stoppage here, I know it's not a direct correlation to Wekiva. I guess it's more of an indirect, but there certainly is a very heavy Apopka influence over at Windermere High School. The principal, Doug Guthrie, left Apopka to go open up Windermere, and he took quite a few people with him, from the faculty to the custodial staff.
Indeed, and also, Orange County staff members certainly get around, and we've had Coach Lubin here for the last 6 years at Wekiva. Three's not going to fall there for Laster. And as you mentioned, Neil, all 3 years have belonged to Coach Grizik at Windermere, who's founded the program. Offensive foul is called against E.J. York, his second, the team's third. Kind of an interesting dynamic playing out here that we have mostly, I think, 2 or 3 out of the 4 total fouls on the board are offensive fouls.
Yeah, Mark, and also I know we've mentioned this a number of times throughout the broadcast so far this season. It just can't be overlooked, and that's the youth of Wekiva. Nobody returned from last year who saw significant time. Not even anybody who came off the bench.
Out of bounds, Wolverines ball. Checking into the game for the Mustangs, Jared Bryan.
Wekiva has shown, I would say, very gradual improvement as far as getting over that the proverbial hump of youth. But they are making progress. I think in each game they have made at least some progress. They have moved forward as opposed to not moving at all.
A lot of motion coming up from the Wolverines, and they finally find their man. William held to Jordan Crawford for a baseline assist for 2.
Some tic-tac-toe passing there by Windermere. Very smart decisions, getting open, but also the teammates finding the open man there. You don't just want to pass the ball, you want to be able to pass it across the paint.
Jared Bryan on a short floater for 2.
And no sooner did I say that the Wekiva comes back there with some good passing of its own, getting the man in motion.
Jordan Crawford is fouled on the attempt to go to the line and shoot 2 for the Wolverines. Jamarick Hammond is called on the block. It's his first personal foul, and the team's second.
So, of course, Mark, as mentioning there about the youth, Wekiva is actually only 1-6. 1-6 coming into tonight's game. However, 4 of those 6 losses have been by combined 12 points, 4 possessions. So, again, the problem is not that Wekiva's young in the sense they have no talent or skill or potential. It's a matter of realizing that potential, being able to get these players to be able to make those couple extra plays in the last minute or so.
So going 1 for 2 at the line, Crawford brings the Wolverines up to a 2-point lead. 24-22 is the score with about 4 minutes to go here in the first half.
Of course, Windermere man-to-man.
Donovan Stokes punches through for a layup.
Nice stop-and-go move there, getting Windermere off guard, off balance.
Three-point basket for Darrell Armstrong.
So Armstrong now with 9 points. That was a nice, easy shot for him. But, of course, the passing, as you mentioned, Mark, Windermere's already known for opening up easy field goals through their passing and passing across the paint.
And give Crawford credit for forcing that turnover. Crawford to Will Held for two.
And now Windermere going full court man-to-man. Actually, looks like we got a press going on here. Pays dividends.
Will Held to Jaden Golston. And we'll pause for a timeout. "30-second timeout is called by Wekiva. We'll be right back. Mustang Arena. Mark Murchie and Neil Fisher here with you for the last 2 minutes and 25 seconds of the first half. And what started out pretty good for Wekiva, but showing a little sign of fatigue here in the last couple of minutes. And that has allowed the Wolverines to take a 7-point advantage thanks to their superior motion. That will help the Mustang cause there. Donovan Stokes to Gerard Bryan.
A smart timeout there by Coach Lubin. As you mentioned, a 7-0 run by Windermere and a couple of turnovers. Just get his team calmed down. Not let the reputation of Windermere, being a state championship contender, overwhelm them.
Foul is called against Wolverines number 11, Trey Moss. That's his first personal foul, the team's fourth. Laster shooting two.
And it's hard to argue with the results. Wekiva forced the turnover right out of that time. Actually, right out of the timeout, Wekiva got a nice, easy, bunny field goal there under the basket. And then they forced the turnover, which led to Isaiah Laster at the free throw line. So certainly need to get these points here, at least get one of these 2 points.
And indeed they do not, so it'll be Wolverines ball going the other way, leading by 5.
That's a killer there. It's not going to be as damaging because of his turnover.
Isaiah Laster fouled on the attempt. He'll go to the line and shoot two for the Mustangs. The foul is called this time against Darrell Armstrong. That's his first personal foul and the team's 5th. So 2 more chances coming up for Laster to try to close the gap after the Mustangs blink a little bit mid-second quarter.
Much better looking free throw there.
And is 2 for 2 at the line. Gives him 6 points total on the night, makes it a 1-possession ball game once again.
And that's why that last trip down was so important. Opportunity to cut the lead to one possession.
Well, good hustle there by Golston. The shot wasn't that great, but he got his own rebound, so that redeems him. To the paint. And we've got E.J. York picks up 2.
So York now up to 8 points.
Out of bounds, Wolverines ball. Turnover there by Edouard. Under a minute to play here in the first half, I should say.
And Wekiva's been man-to-man throughout this whole contest.
Too much mustard on that 3 from Golston. The shot from the floor won't fall. Gotta give E.J. York credit for that, though. That's a gutsy thing to do, to take a shot from the ground. Nikhil Edouard. Good use of timing there. Pump the brakes for just a second. Back to a one-possession ball game.
And this, of course, is a key possession here, the last one before halftime. Wekiva could really set itself up for momentum in the second half. They hold them.
Moss on the pass to Crawford.
So, still 6 seconds. Wekiva can get some momentum here.
Block is called against Jordan Crawford. That's his first personal foul of the team's 6th. At the line, shooting 2 for the Mustangs, Q Roberson.
Of course, Robertson was the hero of the victory against Leesburg, making the pass which allowed the game to be tied and then scoring the winning points on a free throw with 4.6 seconds left here. Certainly, again, these free throws are critical here. Already left one on the table.
And that takes us to halftime. It's a 4-point ball game. Wolverines lead the Mustangs 35-31 at intermission here on Tuesday night basketball action in our final week of the first semester. And we will be back in just under 10 minutes with the second half here from Mustang Arena. The Wolverines have the opening possession of the third period. Welcome back to Mustang Arena. Mark Barchi, the voice of the Mustangs, here with Neil Fisher from the Apopka Chief, ready to take you through our final 16 minutes of what is shaping up to be a good one so far.
Absolutely, Mark. And again, you know, we've mentioned this. Wekiva comes into this game 1-5, but their issue is not that they don't have talent or skill or they can't be competitive. The problem is they've lost 3 of those 5 games in the last possession.
Yeah, that's something we mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast, Neil, that Wekiva has struggled in the late game, as here we're going to get a E.J. York for 3 from Will Held.
Yeah, so my point, Mark, is that this should not be a surprise, as good as Windermere is, and compared to Wekiva's 1-5, that we have seen a very competitive game through the first half.
Full timeout requested by the Mustangs. Coach Lubin does not like how things are shaping up so far. We'll take a break. All right, welcome back to Mustang Arena, and not a great start, as the Mustangs have already fallen down by an additional 4 points, doubling the Wolverine advantage, or excuse me, 5 points, because that was a 3 on that last by E.J. York. And here's another turnover. I don't think that's what they discussed in the timeouts. Will Held steals 2.
Yeah, horrible start here to the second half. Don't need to be a football or a basketball guru to understand how devastating this is right now to Wekiva. Of course, York came out, drilled a 2 and then a 3-pointer. Wekiva's turned the ball over twice.
Hugh Roberson is called on the offensive charge. His first team's first this half. Who took the charge? What?
And I was all ready to compliment Wekiva on some excellent field goal percentage there in the first half. Clearly the best of the season so far, 52%. Windermere shot a very impressive 50%, but of course they're still not as good as Wekiva's 52.
Hugh Roberson finally comes up with a rebound after misses from Crawford and York.
See, the other statistics were slightly in Windermere's favor, and that's how they got that 4-point lead. 15-12 on rebounds and 8-7 in turnovers.
Good look from York there. Can't get it to fall. Rebound stays with the Wolverines. E.J. York for 3. Trey Moss picks up the assist there, and Neil, this is starting to feel eerily like the university game where Wekiva comes out of halftime with absolutely no mental focus, and what was a close game starts to unravel. And that's just what's happening here with a layup by Darrell Armstrong.
A 4th consecutive turnover. And you saw just how easy Windermere got that ball down the court. And we're going to see it here again, another turnover.
Offensive foul is called against Jamaric Hammond, his second, the team's second. That turns the ball over to the Wolverines. So for those of you keeping track, and unfortunately we are, that's 13 turnovers for the Mustangs so far. And we're going to get some personnel changes in here.
Yeah, this unfortunate part of that 13 is that 8 were just committed here in 2 minutes of the second half. As I mentioned, Wekiva hung with Windermere As you mentioned, same story as against University on Friday. Throughout that first half, 52% from the field, Windermere 50%, only 8 turnovers compared to 7 for Windermere, but now they've turned the ball over 5 times.
Interesting choice here. It looks like we're going to get a Wolverine timeout. Windermere calls timeout. 30-second timeout requested by the Wolverines. All right, welcome back to Mustang Arena. Coach Grizik had an idea that he wanted to share with his team just now. We'll see what it is. Yeah, it was actually a pretty good one, but it doesn't work out. Held goes for 3 misses. Stokes on the rebound. Roberson goes to work for the Mustangs now. Over to Brian. Hammond going to see if he can dance into the paint. Yeah, and falling away. Bounces it off the glass. Not there. Rebound goes to Held.
Both teams have been man-to-man throughout this whole game.
E.J. York for another 3.
And did Coach Grizik put something in York's Wheaties there at halftime?
Yeah, he's got 16 points, including 4 made baskets from behind the arc. That's 12 of his 16 points came that way. And now it's been all Windermere since halftime. 3 is short from Roberson. Good work by Brian getting in there for the rebound. Stokes doesn't have the jumper.
Yeah, clearly not only is Windermere hitting the free throws, and in particular York, the field goals, but they're getting a lot more field goal too.
No basket. Offensive charge is called against E.J. York. That's his 3rd personal foul, the team's 2nd. So if there is any good news in this half for the Mustangs, it is that the leading scorer for the Wolverines just picked up his 3rd foul. It looks like he's going to stay in the game, at least for now. But the Wolverines on a 15-0 run since halftime. Prince Daniel has the Mustangs on the board for the second half.
Who scored that?
15.
A much-needed field goal there by Daniels. Obviously, as you like to say, Mark, need to stop the bleeding. It's been a completely different game here through the first 4 minutes of the second half. As you mentioned, Windermere on a 15-0, or were on a 15-0 run. Of course, York is the man who is most noticeable. He's the one scoring. But Windermere hasn't really done anything spectacular out of the ordinary. Basic fundamental basketball here. Get the ball moving through the pass, and that's allowed York to get the open looks.
No basket. Offensive foul is called against Trey Moss, his 2nd. Team 2nd this half. Checking into the game for the Mustangs, number 10, Isaiah Laster.
And again, Windermere remaining in full court, man.
Opportunity in transition. Nobody's home, and it's Donovan Stokes from Jamaric Hammond. It's a rare blown coverage there, but it's quickly answered. Trey Moss on the Wolverine layup. Well, Neil, who was that? Will Held. Well, Neil, for just a moment there, it looked like the Mustangs had something going their way, with the Wolverines leaving them an empty front court and an easy layup, and then disaster strikes at the other end of the court. And we're going to get a foul called here. Prior to the shots, foul is called against Will Held. That's his first personal foul. The team's third. Checking into the game for Windermere, Matt Richardson. Also in, Darrell Armstrong. So a lot of personnel changes coming in for Windermere. Held ball, possession Mustangs. So credit to Trey Moss there. He won't get a steal for that since the possession arrow was not in the Wolverines' favor, but he will win the possession arrow back for Windermere.
Oh, and that does plant a seed in the back of Wekiva's mind, though.
Yeah, they've you got to give credit to Windermere. They have been quick on the draw for the last couple of plays, running full court pressure against the Mustangs, not letting up at all, and it's paying off for them. We're going to get a little personnel change back here. We've got Will Held back for Windermere. Looks like we've got some challenges with the floor here. We're going to bring out a towel. Mustangs will take advantage of the opportunity for a free timeout. Can't blame them for that. Mustangs are going to almost lose the ball to a 5 count here. They're not careful. They do manage to get it inbounded in time. Timeouts are only free if they don't result in a turnover. Hammond goes to the corner. Bryan brings it back around to Stokes, who doesn't have the 3. Rebound goes to York. Clearly working on an MVP award for this game. He's got 16 points, 4 rebounds, and 1 assist. And Golston is going to lose the ball here to a steal by Isaiah Lauster. So a little bit of good news for the Mustangs. Hammond goes to the corner, finds Stokes. Decides not to take it from the paint. Instead has a wide open Laster, but the 3 isn't going to fall for him. Put back, not there. And the rebound ultimately goes to Trey Moss. We'll go the other way. We're going to get a foul on the rebound here.
Wait, we don't have a 24 on the court. Red.
White doesn't have a 24.
White doesn't have a 24 on the court. There's no 24 on that court.
There's a green 24.
Exactly. There's a green 24. There's no white 24.
There's a green 24.
You said
okay.
white
I thought
24.
you said white 24. Green 24, okay.
No. You heard right. He said white 24.
Yes. Okay, so now we've cleared that up. It was, in fact, Jaden Golston who picked up his first personal foul there. And the Mustangs will have the ball. Couple of steals, one good turnover deserves another. Hammond goes all the way in by himself, can't get it to fall. Rebound goes to Brian.
Hey, Giselle. Messiah, my bad. How many do you have on 11?
Q Roberson is fouled on the attempt. He'll go to the line and shoot two for the Mustangs. The foul is called against Wolverines number 11, Trey Moss. That's his third personal foul, and the team's fifth.
Who was that foul on? That's his fourth.
Teammate both.
Yes, he did.
So Q Roberson helps the Mustangs cause, going 2 for 2 at the line. Go the other way, and a wide open lane there left for Trey Moss on the Wolverine layup. So every time the Mustangs get a break to fall their way, Wolverines come and take it right back. Under 20 seconds to play here in the third period. Roberson jumps into the block. Good for him. E.J. York is called on the push. That's his fourth personal foul. Team sixth at the line shooting two, Q Roberson. So that's big for Wekiva. First of all, it gives Q Roberson the chance to shoot two. Checking into the game for Windermere, number 24, Jaden Golston.
Can you make that?
Yes. 2 for 2 at the line again, and now E.J. York picking up his fourth personal foul. We'll probably not see as many minutes from him in the fourth quarter. Of course, with the Wolverines leading now by as much as they are, they may not need to see as many minutes. Three's not going to fall for Moss. And that takes us to the end of the third period. In the third quarter, the Wolverines outscored the Mustangs 21-8, and that's now taken them to a 56-39 lead going into the final 8 minutes. What do you have for possession arrow?
I have white ball coming out. Oh, no, green ball. Yeah, green ball.
Two-point jumper by number 11, Trey Moss. Welcome back to Mustang Arena. Mark Barchi and Neil Fisher here to take you to the finish line of this contest that has been all Wolverines since halftime, but here we're going to get Donovan Stokes. Opens up fourth quarter scoring for the Mustangs.
Yeah, Mark, as you mentioned, they're 21-8. Windermere outscored Wekiva in that third quarter. And you look at the field goals here, they were 9 of 16 in that second half.
Trey Moss is fouled behind the arc. He'll go to the line and shoot 3. The foul is called against number 1. Donovan Stokes on the push. It's his first personal foul. The team's third this half.
So we mentioned towards the end of that third quarter there, Mark, it's not just simply the fact that Windermere was converting free field goals. They were also getting a lot more. They ended up with 6 more attempts than Wekiva, 16-10. But that really was cut into there the last couple of minutes. It probably was over 10 at one point in that third quarter. So Windermere now enters the fourth quarter shooting 52%, 24-46 from the field. And, of course, Wekiva dropped from 52 to 42. They're now 14 of 33. And they turned the ball over 7 times in that quarter.
Foul is called against number 1, Matt Richardson. That's his second personal foul, the team's 7th. And that puts the Mustangs into bonus.
So the other statistics, which I think is important to point out here, Mark, is free throw line. Wekiva does have a fairly significant advantage. They scored 8 more points, 9 of 12. Windermere's only gotten to the line twice, converting 1. But again, just to give you an idea, when you're shooting over 50%, you're shooting over 50% from start to finish. That could cancel out a lot of the other statistics there. And, of course, as I mentioned, you throw into the mix 7 turnovers by Wekiva in that third quarter.
A little bit of confusion there prior to the shots of which player was fouled. It happened on the rebound. They ultimately conclude that it was Edouard. Works out for the Mustangs as he hits both of his free throws.
16-point lead here, so I guess we'll see if Wekiva has learned anything here. Try to cut into that lead here in the final stanzas.
Darrell Armstrong for 3, the pass by Will Held.
And again, the hot shooting continues for Windermere, but you get hot shooting from good passing, setting up open looks. And you did mention there, Mark, at the beginning of the third quarter, it was York who was draining the rain, so to speak. I believe he converted 4 field goals in the first half of that third quarter. But the hot shooting continues for the whole team, as we see there.
Matt Richardson steals a layup for the Wolverines. And so, Neil, at this point, the game is starting to look a little out of reach for the Mustangs, particularly if they continue to play the way they have since halftime. Here we're going to get a foul. Foul is called against Darrell Armstrong. That's a second personal foul. The team's 8th will go to the line to shoot bonus. Laster shooting 1-1.
So, yeah, Mark, I'd say from a mathematical standpoint, maybe just being optimistic, certainly I'd say the game is not quite over yet. But Wekiva would have to start making some inroads starting right now, and given the fact that they haven't, since this 15-plus point lead was established about 2 minutes into the third quarter, it's not looking likely.
Short jumper from Trey Moss.
And no sooner do I say that than free throws missed at Wekiva's end and an easy basket there for Moss, who now has 11 points. And again, going back, this game turned at the beginning of the third quarter. A 4-point lead ballooned very quickly into a 19-point lead.
Wild shot from Caballero. Putback's not going to go for Edouard either.
And I harken back to last Tuesday, Mark, when Wekiva, a week ago, when Wekiva took on Leesburg. They did actually win that game, the only of the season for Wekiva. And you mentioned in that game, I remember very clearly talking about Leesburg moves the ball so quickly up and down the court, great over the shoulder passing, and great bounce passing, which goes about half the length of the court. Only takes about 90 seconds to fall asleep as a wheel, to use the old cliche, and Leesburg will run off a 12 to 15-point run, and suddenly you're out of the game.
Jamaric Hammond on the Mustangs layup.
The reason I bring that up is pretty much Windermere did the same exact thing here at the start of the third quarter. Wasn't not quite as noticeable, or maybe didn't have that eye-catching value. Certainly was not quite as quick, but nonetheless, the lethalness was just as efficient.
No basket offensive charge is called against Trey Moss. Q Roberson took that for the Mustangs. It's Moss's 4th personal foul. The team's 9th. No bonus shots on offensive fouls, but it turns the ball over to the Mustangs. So now 2 players on the court have 4 fouls. Edouard from Leicester for 2. Wolverine basket scored by Trey Moss. So the Mustangs, if they are looking for a bright spot here, well, here's one. Isaiah Laster down the baseline for 2. And what I was about to say before Laster so rudely interrupted me by scoring a basket is that if Wekiva is looking for a bright spot here, they do have double bonus in their favor for the rest of the ball game, thanks to that charge, because in high school, unlike in the NBA, offensive fouls do count as team fouls, and they do count toward the penalty situation. Edouard loses the ball to a steal by Crawford. I heard the Windermere coaching staff say they would just wanted to avoid the charge, but they call timeout. That's probably not a bad idea. And we'll take it with them. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Mustang Arena. Mustangs struggling here in the second half. Moss not able to get anything to go on the inbound. Caballero on the rebound for the Mustangs. And as I said to Coach Lubin after the university game, I said, Coach, you got to quit putting lead in their shoes at halftime. Jaden Golston picks up 2 for the Wolverines. So more points off of turnovers for Windermere. Hammond not quite in control of that under the basket. York gets the rebound, tries to make something happen in transition, but might have been too clever by half there as Q Roberson picks up a steal. Now an unchallenged Q Roberson on the Mustang layup. Not sure if that was a sympathy basket or if Windermere just fell asleep at the wheel for a second, but Q Roberson wasn't going to look a gift horse in the teeth. Jamara Hammond steals 2 for the Mustangs. So back-to-back points off turnovers for the Mustangs. Still a lot of work to be done to bring this back to a close game thanks to the damage that happened in the third quarter and the first half of the fourth quarter. 2 minutes to go here, and Mustangs staring down the barrel of a 17-point deficit.
Make that 20, Mark.
Golston for 3 from York.
And
From Moss.
And that's really been the story there since that 15-0 run. Every time Wekiva's seemed to be able to get a little bit of impetus towards cutting into that lead, an answer by Windermere has followed very quickly.
Jaden Golston is called on the foul. That's his second personal, team's 10th. Jamar Hammond shooting 2. Some personnel changes for the Mustangs.
What was that last call on, bro?
And both teams have gone man-to-man throughout this contest. Of course, Mark, we've mentioned it, and really this game, when you look back, there's only one key storyline here, and that's the 15-0 run, which began the second half. Windermere scoring those 15 consecutive points. Wekiva with a total of 7 turnovers in the quarter.
Trey Moss gets the basket and a chance to make it a 3-point play. The foul is called against Donovan Stokes. That's his first personal foul, or excuse me, the second, and the team's 4th.
And again, I mentioned those 7 turnovers in the third quarter because 5 of them were during that 15-0 run which Windermere put together. And of course, I always like to say you don't have to be a basketball guru to understand if you're turning the ball over, you're probably not going to win. Number one, of course, you can't score if you don't have possession of the ball. But also, when you turn the ball over, you're giving your opponents more opportunities to score. And that's exactly what happened during that run. Windermere took, I believe, 9 field goal attempts compared to 3 for Wekiva.
Checking into the game for Windermere, Jaden Crawford.
So I'll also like to point out during that run, of course, York was the player who gets all the attention. He had, I believe, 5 field goals, 4 from beyond the three-point arc. As we
Q Roberson.
However, again, you get nice, easy shots from good passing across the paint. Windermere did that very excellently. Very little hesitation. Used the angles, good over-the-top passing, and good bounce passing as far as deciding when to use each. And that really opened up York with several open and very uncontested looks at the basket.
Tristan Bryan in for the Mustangs. Trey Simeon in for the Wolverines.
So now Windermere's probably just going to run out as much time as possible. No need to really force the issue, take any shots here. A 20-point lead. And again, Windermere's going to finish with over 50% field goal shooting for this contest. Wekiva probably is going to be under 40. They were 42 at the end of the third quarter. And again, I bring that up just to reemphasize here as we get down to the last 20 seconds.
3-point basket by Jaden Golston.
That really tells the tale of why and how that 15-0 run by Windermere was able to be created.
Full timeout requested by the Mustangs. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Mustang Arena. 15 seconds to go here. That takes us to the end of the ball game. It's a 79-56 win for the Wolverines as they outscore the Mustangs 44-25 in the second half. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you so much for coming out to support your Mustang and Wolverine athletes. Mustang fans, we hope that you will join us on the road on Friday as the Mustangs wrap up the first semester at Apopka in a crosstown rivalry. Freshmen at 4:30, JV at 6 o'clock, and Varsity at 7:30. For those of you in the arena, please drive carefully and arrive home safely. Those of you tuning in to YouTube or the NFHS network, thanks for joining us virtually tonight. We hope that you'll subscribe to our YouTube channel before you go. So, Neil, I think we have just about explained this one to death.
Yeah.
We had plenty of time of the Mustangs not scoring baskets in the second half to analyze it, and I think this horse is not going to get any deader. So we'll leave it there for tonight and hope that the Mustangs are able to put something together against the Apopka Blue Darters on Friday. That's always a tall order against Scott Williams and his team. I know they've had some injuries and some issues keeping their team healthy, but all in all, they are a very, very dangerous team. And so the Mustangs will go head-to-head with them in a crosstown rivalry that is not a district contest anymore, but still an important one nonetheless, both for bragging rights and for postseason points. We'll leave it there. My thanks to Neil Fisher from the Apopka Chief joining me tonight and all season long. My name is Mark Barchi, the voice of the Mustangs, wishing you a good night and a great winter break. We'll see you in January.